Welcome to our main stage theater, the Sports Nutrition. This next session will be about crossroads between sustainability and nutrition, and will be led by Luca Bucchini, who is Vice Chair at ESSNA, the European Specialist Sports Nutrition Alliance, and also Managing Director at Hybolates. And Luca is a food risk scientist and expert in food and supplement regulation. He's worked with health and food risk assessment and studies at Johns Hopkins in the US. And then he co-founded the Rome-based food consultancy, Hybolates. It was 17 years ago. And since then, he's been helping register thousands of supplements across Europe and support businesses comply with the EU law.
Thank you very much, Natalia, and thank you for inviting. Can you hear me? Okay, thank you. Thank you for inviting ESSNA today. I'm personally pleased to be able to speak to you today at Vitafoods. Our thoughts are with the Ukraine now, and as they have been for weeks, and with the tragedy unfolding there. Yet we are not forgetting that the challenges of our generation, that is climate change, environmental degradation, are not going away. They are not going away, and really the choice we have is whether we do something about them or not. I will be discussing policies with you, the EU's response to climate change and to environmental degradation. But it is important to keep in mind that yes, there will be policies. The policies may be impactful, may impact us, our industry, or not. They may come to pass or not, but the underlying facts of climate change and environmental degradation are not changed. We have to keep that in mind. So it's particularly important for me, significant to me, to speak to you about sustainability and sports nutrition. I've worked for the sports nutrition industry for 20 years now. And help represent it. So it's important to me. Finally, in the second part of my presentation, I will be presenting the ESSNA Pledge. The ESSNA Pledge has been launched today, and it's the first time that it's being presented. I'm honored to do so here with you today. And it's our action, the action of the sports nutrition industry on sustainability and to respond to these challenges. So that's, again, okay. So in short, the topics, I will introduce yourselves to ESSNA. I will discuss the European policy in this area, the Green Deal, and some more details that some way or another will affect you. And then move on to the challenges for our industry, and finally, ESSNA's pledge in this area. So ESSNA is the voice of the sports nutrition industry. We are a trade organization, and our main aim is really to explain to policymakers and to the public what sports nutrition is about and the value it delivers to the physically active to elite athletes. We have a wide membership from ingredient manufacturers to brands, to e-commerce retailers, to labs and other stakeholders in the industry. So I've mentioned before that one aim is to actually have a regulatory framework that works for the industry, that promotes innovation and safe products for consumers. Actually, ESSNA was started to have an innovation promoting regulatory environment, and we did succeed, although incredibly some parties still want to go back to that. So that's our first objective, and of course we work on the reputation of our sector. I think that we have delivered over the years So successful products helped. Is it me or? Okay. So we have delivered products. Consumers are familiar and have benefits from our products. There are some bad apples, unfortunately, and we need to make sure that the public and consumers understand our products and the benefits that we deliver. We are actively working against unfair competition. I think that's an area where we stand out in terms of of trade organization, because we have specific issues. We need to protect our consumers. And then, of course, we are providing a forum to discuss the challenges, the technical issues that affect our industry. So let's move on more specifically to sustainability. I think you probably have heard about the Green Deal. The Green Deal is the response of the EU to the challenge of climate change. It's a very ambitious program. If you start to learn about it, you will find that it touches on practically all aspects of the economy and many aspects of society. So the overarching goal is to have climate neutrality by 2050. So whatever you do in Europe, and if you work with the European industry, you will be affected in some way by the Green Deal. So that's Ursula von der Leyen for you. She's the Commission President, and she has really staked the reputation and of this Commission on the Green Deal. So it's really very important, this Commission, and it's really overarching and big. There are many pieces to the Green Deal, really many, and one that touches on us specifically as a food sector is the Farm to Fork strategy. So it's been delivered in May 2020, and it seeks to implement the Green Deal in the food system, and also to have healthier and more sustainable food systems. There are, again, many parts to it: reducing food loss and waste prevention, sustainable food production, and also sustainable food processes. You will see in the slide below that part of it is increasing organic farming. So one aspect would be more organic raw materials coming to our industry as well. And the other parts are less obvious, but the other objectives that in the logos prepared by the Commission really also have impact on us. For example, improving animal welfare, the EU Code of Conduct, and a number of labeling changes. So I mentioned before the EU Code of Conduct. The Code of Conduct is a voluntary in principle, but the industry can sign to it, and it is a number of objectives and actions that industry can commit to. And it's now being signed by a number of industry bodies, and if you work with the industry or in the industry, you will be impacted by those. Then one other major goal is with improving animal welfare. So there will be legislative changes in the way we address animal welfare, and we expect more demand from certification and information on animal welfare in our industry as well, including animal welfare labeling. Now, we don't know the details yet of that. Switzerland has already a system, so we might see that coming to the EU as well and impacting our animal proteins as well. So there is also an initiative on sustainable food systems with some binding principles being worked out, responsibilities for food chain actors, and this applies to the EU and beyond the EU if supplying to the EU. There will be sustainability labeling, and that's going to be important in terms of rules and information that you have to provide on sustainability, which is going to be a driver in the marketplace as well. And there is an ongoing stakeholder contribution on this aspect, on the labeling aspect. Then the production of sustainable proteins. As you may know, we have a shortage of plant proteins in the EU. We import a lot of soy, for example, for animal feed, for example, but not only. So there is a discussion on a EU-wide protein strategy. That's not clear. It's not clear yet what will encompass, but we'll see. We expect to see action on plant proteins as well, and more availability from the EU in the future. So another bit is the Circular Economy Action Plan. So it sounds far away from us, but it does have some aspects that touch on our industry directly. So waste packaging, new rules on packaging, and packaging is going to be a primary aspect of acting on sustainability in the future. Changes to regulation on food contact materials as well. Packaging will be very important, and also part of this is green claims. So I guess if you are here, you're probably interested in green claims and greenwashing. So, and that's going to be delivered in terms of rule by the Circular Economy Action Plan. So I mentioned this before, waste reduction targets, not necessarily impactful for us, but there may be some fees associated with that. Strategies to reduce overpackaging. I think as an industry, also the food supplement industry has not fought enough about reducing packaging yet, at least not most of it. So we'll have that, and some also mandatory actions in that area. Again, I guess we're starting to see compostable plastics in our sector as well, but we are just starting to see them. But there will be a strong push as we go forward and clearer rules on the labeling of compostable. And probably, if I can say that, I think an expectation to see compostable packaging as well. And this raises a number of technical challenges, economic challenges as well. So, so we are starting to see the facts. This is a directive from 2018 that revised some of the rules on waste and packaging. It's not the Green Deal, it's before the Green Deal, but it teaches us a number of things that you probably have encountered already. For example, extended producer responsibility is live now. And if you produce packaging, if you do distribute a product in a certain country, you are probably paying under the so-called EPR. If you are selling online as a brand in a member state, you also have to pay under EPR. So we are starting to see this type of effect, and probably with the Green Deal, you will have more of this type of obligation in each member state. And it's always the principle of the polluter pays. So whoever pollutes, or in this case produces packaging, has to pay. And if the packaging producer is not in a member state, then it will be up to the brand. We are also seeing environmental labeling in terms of mandatory requirements for packaging coming up in different countries. So Spain has practically adopted a green dot that you see on the bottom. And so you'll see it appearing. Then Italy has some different requirements. This is an example of it, but the basic requirements are for text. And on the right side, you see actually it's the left for you, the Triman, which is the French choice. And so you see, this means that you already have to implement this type of labeling on your products. The French one is almost in application now. The other lesson is that at the moment we see a lot of variation in the way these EU principles are being applied, and this may continue to be a challenge. There have been requests to change that, to harmonize by the industry, but I think as many of these policies do not come from the food sector, we may have again this challenge of different implementation in the different member states. So yes, I've mentioned that at the beginning of the European Green Deal, will take a day, I guess, to discuss all its aspects, but we'll have, I think it's important for us as an industry to keep in mind that the EU aims to set the standards in sustainability. The EU has succeeded in some areas in setting global standards, and perhaps it will be the case again for sustainability. So you may expect that wherever you are, in the end, you will need some compliance with the EU's rules. The decarbonization of the energy sector will be impacted by prices, and there might be some funding and research in other areas as well. Let me come now to ESSNA's pledge. So we have seen a number of policy discussions that will become policies in the future, in the next couple of years, with some mandatory requirements. But as ESSNA, we have decided to take the initiative. And to make a pledge, our members have decided to make a pledge in a number of areas. The first is in terms of ingredients, of the source of ingredients. The second is an animal welfare. Then we have the third, number 3, which is contribute to energy transition, and then investment in innovative and circular packaging. So, and finally, better waste management. So we expect our members to start, it's been launched today, and we expect our members to start acting on this and asking their suppliers and their partners to provide the information and the products and the solution that they need to act on this pledge. First, in terms of ingredients, much of the impact that our industry has on sustainability is through its ingredients. So if we learn more about our supply chains and how they can be certified, or the information they can provide on how they impact the environment, that will be important. So we expect to ask many more questions about ingredients. Also, to be able to make green claims in the end. And as part of include ethical and environmental credentials as part of the procurement process. Second, animal welfare. You all know that whey proteins are particularly good. Egg proteins are also particularly good for sports nutrition. We need to ask more from our suppliers in terms of animal welfare. Some of our members who are ingredient suppliers are at the forefront really on innovation in this area in terms of grass feeding, free range, or reducing the climate impact of animals. But we need to ask more questions and go towards more certification and clearer information to consumers. We also need to continue to invest in plant proteins. And plant-based proteins are, yes, inherently more sustainable, but we need to make sure that's the case because they may result from deforestation. So again, that's an area of more questions asked and potentially more claims on final products. We commit to contribute to the energy transition, which means prioritizing renewables in energy procurement and asking our suppliers to do so as well. Then working on packaging. That's really an area which is close to me, to my mind in many ways. And I think we need to start to take packaging from an environmental perspective more seriously from the start, from the formulation stage, when we start to think about the packaging. Is it going to be recyclable? Is it black, so there is a problem to recycle it? To ask a number of questions and to move towards more sustainable and potentially compostable solutions. Finally, waste management. We want to minimize the amount of waste we generate from our products and certainly work with local authorities and waste management facilities. This means that, for example, to take environmental EPR seriously in the member states, on the countries where we sell products. We need to think about waste when we think about our new products. ESSNA is doing other work on sustainability, and we are working on guidelines to avoid greenwashing. The work is ongoing, and I guess this year, I expect this year to have some guidelines to avoid greenwashing. Greenwashing is making green claims that are not substantiated or not acceptable. And then we have a sustainability working group. So if you have an interest in how sustainability can impact and how to work on sustainability, we have a working group that you're welcome to join through ESSNA membership to discuss this issue and move forward in an area which is still not fully regulated. And then, of course, the ESSNA Secretary is doing an excellent work in providing information and updates and interpretation on sustainability. So, as an industry, we do face challenges in the area of sustainability. Sometimes balancing functionality and sustainability is not easy. It's not easy for packaging. It's not easy for ingredients. So we do see that as a challenge. We have to change, adjust to new regulatory obligations that are coming up through the supply chain. And then again, we see that as in the sectors, in the fields that we are used to, we may have rogue actors that undermine the efforts of the industry. But we know that consumers are asking for sustainability. The underlying challenges, as I've mentioned in the beginning, climate change are not going away, no matter how we respond. So there will be growing demand for this and the expectation of information on animal welfare, on sustainability, on packaging. So this is not going to change. We expect new solutions, new products from our partners to meet these challenges. And that way lead to further innovation and market opportunities. So in short, that we'll have new market regulatory obligations, and you know, whatever you do in Europe, you will be impacted by the Green Deal. You have to be aware of this in some way or another. We don't know the details, but that's the expectation that you need to have. You need to prepare to document and to react to the request of information on sustainability. So we expect it to be a driver of growth in the years to come. And we, as ESSNA, we are committed to remain at the forefront and to respond proactively to the European goals as well as the UN's Sustainable Development Goals. And so thank you very much for listening, and I hope there is some time for questions.
Thank you so much, Luca, for your great insights. And we do have a few minutes for some questions. So if you guys have any questions in the in-person audience, I'll bring the microphone to you. And just to remind the online audience, you are able to type in your questions. And there is actually a couple questions from the online audience, so we can start with those. So the first question is asking, are you seeing any specific new legislation rules around packaging in the UK specifically?
Okay. So let me repeat the questions just to. So if there is any planned change on packaging in the UK?
Yes. Any specific new legislation rules change around packaging in the UK?
Okay. So not that I'm aware of at the moment, but I expect we have discussed the EU's policy mainly. The UK is also moving in a similar direction. So although I'm not aware at the moment of imminent changes, it is likely that the UK will act as well.
Perfect, thank you. Do you have any questions from the in-person audience? Yes, we do.
Hi there, thank you for the talk. I wanted to ask, on your kind of 5 priority areas, what are you doing with the organizations that you work with to help them understand their maturity in those areas? Does that make sense?
Yes, if you could explain a little bit.
Yeah, so your 5 priority areas,
Yes.
so animal welfare, circular packaging, the other 3. Are you doing anything with your members to help them understand their level of maturity in each of those areas, to understand what they actually mean and what the practical implications are for them?
Yes, yes. Okay, so first, I think, from when we start this journey towards the pledge, I had a personal concern that members would not be aware, okay, of what they were signing to. And I think the Secretary has done a lot of work to make sure that they understood and they were committed to these goals. And at the moment, the plan, I think every member, and I'm speaking for ourselves, for example, as members, we are starting to see how to operationalize all these aspects. So, and if you are a brand, if you're an Indian manufacturer, if you're a consulting company, as we do, it's a different thing. For example, we are thinking about what can we do, and our thing at the moment is that we are going to ask our customers if they had considered these aspects. Have you considered animal welfare? And so we think that's at the beginning. And I think in the working group we'll discuss this. And I think in a year's time, that's my guess. But in some time we'll go back to members and start to see what they have done, and in the future, I guess we have a plan to seek measurable targets as well. That's the plan. But we need to give members some time to think through things, to ask questions of the Secretariat on what to do, and then we'll get there to have concrete numbers at the end.
Thank you. Thank you for your question.
It was a very good question. Thank you.
Thank you. We do actually have a few other questions coming from online, so we'll take one more. How do we tackle the issue of marrying sustainability and consumer affordability in developing economies like West Africa?
So it's a very good question. Let me start from this, and I think I want to emphasize it again. I mentioned it. So if you are working with European companies and you're based in West Africa, you'll have to take this into account. I think there is a recommendation that we can give today, is that if you are working with Europe, you need to start working on this. And that they hope, I believe that European companies, buyers will want to invest in improving the sustainability in West Africa. Now, I also believe, but I can't provide you details now, that the EU is providing funds for that as well. So, I'm not in a position to give a precise answer to what you can do in West Africa. But I think that through the Green Deal, through all these changes, you will have opportunities to both invest and then reap the benefits of investing in sustainability. And the first step is definitely to gather information, to understand your processes, your products, and your impacts right now. I think that's the priority, to start to think right now about what you do and whether you can think of certification, for example. Because we are going towards certification in many areas, third-party certification, so you have to start to think about that.